Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Captain America issue 15. And I like this issue because it dealt more with Steve and his dynamic with the Daughters of Liberty, kind of like Sharon kind of keeping secrets from him, and really kind of getting that dynamic into play a little bit more and to see how that's kind of affecting Steve and Sharon, while also getting us to kind of a new phase of getting more of the Power Elite's kind of power structure and focus, and seeing what the Daughters of Liberty are kind of doing about that. So we start off, we see that Steve is narrating about like police officers and like brotherhoods and trust and all that, as we see this one person, Angel Larimore, is evidently up to something and he's trying to do his job and he gets murdered. It's like, holy crap, that's not good. And that's what kind of sets off our next kind of phase dealing with the Power Elite. And we see that Steve and Sharon and Tony are kind of talking about, all right, what kind of information do we have? Pretty much trying to figure out how the Watchdogs, Power Elite, and everything's kind of linked together. Eventually, kind of showing them the kind of structured information that they've gathered so far. Of course, bringing up Selene and Lucan, Alexander Lucan's wife. And he's like, well, we know that Celine's a heavy hitter, but who's she? And then, of course, he starts getting the information. He's like, what, is that like his daughter or something? Of course, he gets the information that it's his wife. And we get some kind of humorous stuff with Tony being like, yeah, it's kind of creepy with old dudes and younger women. Of course, that's pretty much what Steve and any woman he would be dating nowadays would be. And she's going to like, ah, God. But Steve's trying to get the information of like, all right, who do we have on her? And they're like, the best people that we got, like the best one we got, but they won't divulge that kind of information. So Steve asks the team to pretty much take five as he tries to, well, he tries to be delicate, but it doesn't really come out that way as he's pretty much like, all right, so what's going on here? How long has this been going on and keeping secrets? Of course, Sharon's pissed off about that, but I'd say that she's measured in her being pissed off. She doesn't full out just be like, fuck you, Steve Rogers. She's more like, hey, I've dealt with it with you. I'm just asking you to wait for me as well. My only problem I kind of had with this portion was mainly the art style of Sharon's face looked kind of weird and how it was drawn. It just didn't really convey the right emotions, in my opinion. It just was a little bit off. Not completely horrible, but just kind of off. But of course, before they could really get anything down, Steve gets a message or whatnot. He's like, hey, I kind of have to take this. And then, of course, Sharon's like, now? When we're having like an important discussion, he's like, yeah, this is a real emergency. And it, because it's Bernie, his lawyer, who was actually an old flame, not the best of times for that to kind of happen. But Steve's like, all right, well, we will deal with this. So he goes off to meet Bernie, and she actually gives him some more information on Larimore. And of course, Steve kind of is talking in his head, being like, hey, I kind of did that way because I kind of wanted to be an ass and have my own secrets. I'm like, interesting. But she's kind of giving him more information of why Larimore was kind of in the position he was in, that there'd been a recent string of cop killings, and that Larimore had information, and somebody evidently was trying to silence that information. Steve's like, who the hell would be able to bury that many cop killings or whatnot? And she's, of course, bringing up how Wilson Fisk, being the mayor of New York, has kind of changed things. Of course, he's part of the Power Elite, but we know that they don't. And it's kind of cool to see. They're like, well, he wanted to contact you because you're the only person that he trusted. And we always know that there's what Steve Rogers should do and what Steve Rogers will always do. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm definitely going to look into it. So it was pretty much that he had like stashed, I guess, this video footage in a warehouse or whatnot, and she was going to, or got this information from a warehouse, and that she'd text him a location later on. And of course, Steve, since he had been a cop at one point, wanted to look into this personally. He goes to the location and finds that Misty and Spider Woman are fighting some watchdogs, and he just goes in and kind of like helps out. But first thing, he's like, well, Daughters of Liberty are tracking me, and then of course he's not the only person they're tracking either. Of course, Spider Woman kind of tosses him the satchel of information, and they're like, well, I guess a lot of people in the department would be any friends would like to see this, but like, yeah, we don't really have a lot of friends because they're on the outside now. They're almost like the antagonistic force against the system. It's interesting. I always like to have it on like the back foot like this with Steve. It kind of shows how he can kind of work his own strategies into place, like teaming up with the Daughters of Liberty to kind of deal with this threat of the power elite. So they're able to kind of get back. They're pretty much trying to deal with what was going on. Tony was like looking through and trying to figure out the information. Of course, Sharon and Steve kind of reconcile, trying to get back and connect with each other. And he's like, well, how did you guys kind of get into this? And like, they were tracking the watchdogs, that's all, and they just kind of happened to bump together. And it's like, okay. And he's like, all right, how does this all kind of come together? How is Larimore kind of involved with the watchdogs and everything? And then, of course, that's when the big breakthrough happens, and there was this raid or whatnot that was going on from multiple angles. And Steve, of course, is able to figure out that it's more like an execution, seeing everything happen, everybody being taken out. We see this new kind of masked figure whose design is really awesome, just like the white, how the mask is done. Pretty much, I think this is the dude. It kind of fits the profile of who would kill Larimore. So we're like, ooh, okay. Can't wait to see how they take this guy on and how he's connected and what's going to be going on there. And of course, we got a little bit of a teaser for the next issue that is going to be Steve and Misty teaming up for it, and I look forward to that team up and to what kind of new revelations they'll get, and when eventually Steve will figure out who Dryad is and what's going on with everything involved with that. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.